The house on Willow Street was supposed to be a new beginning for Clara and her husband, Ethan. It was old but elegant in a forgotten way, tall windows, cracked walls, and wooden floors that sighed beneath every step. Clara had fallen in love with it instantly, convinced it was the perfect place to rebuild their lives after everything that had gone wrong. But on the very first night, the house began to whisper. At first, Clara thought she was imagining it, a trick of exhaustion after the move. But then she heard it again. A voice. Soft, almost tender, drifting from inside the walls. It said her name. Clara, drawn out slowly, as if tasting it. She froze in bed, heart pounding. Ethan snored lightly beside her, completely unaware. The voice came again, a little louder. Clara, help me. Over the next few days, she tried to convince herself it was the wind, or old pipes. But the whispers followed her wherever she went, while she cooked, cleaned, even showered. Sometimes it sounded like a man, other times, like a frightened woman. Always different. Always knowing when Ethan wasn't home. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed weakly through the curtains, the whisper came again, this time with urgency. Behind the wall, Clara. Please. Her breath caught. She pressed her ear to the wallpaper. The voice was clearer there, trembling, desperate. She hesitated, then tore at the wallpaper with her nails. Beneath it, the wall wasn't smooth plaster, it was wood, scratched over and over with names carved deep into it. Dozens of them, some barely visible under layers of dust. And one name stood out. Freshly etched. Clara. Her stomach lurched. She stumbled back, whispering, "No," under her breath. Then came 3 soft knocks from inside the wall. Knock. 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 The air grew heavy, her pulse wild. The voice returned, right against her ear. "Don't let him find me." Clara screamed and bolted from the room, slamming the door behind her. When Ethan came home, she tried to explain, but he only smiled gently and kissed her forehead. "It's an old house, honey. The walls settle, that's all." That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She stared into the darkness, listening. At first there was silence. Then the faintest whisper rose again, not from the walls this time, but from beneath the floorboards. "I'm still here, Clara." The next morning, Clara didn't mention the voice. Ethan had brushed it off so easily the night before that she felt foolish bringing it up again. But something about the house felt heavier now, like the walls themselves were listening. Every sound seemed amplified, the creak of the stairs, the hum of the fridge, even the ticking of the old clock that came with the house. That evening, Ethan had to leave for an overnight work trip. He kissed her goodbye and promised to call. Clara forced a smile, but as soon as his car disappeared down the driveway, she felt that awful stillness again. The moment she locked the door, a cold breeze drifted down the hallway, and the whisper returned. Clara. It came from the same spot in the living room where she'd found the names. Her hands trembled as she approached. The carved wood was still there under the torn wallpaper, the name Clara freshly visible. She touched it gently, and her fingers came away black with dust. The whisper shifted. "He buried me here." Clara's breath caught. "Who?" she whispered aloud before realizing how insane it was to talk back. But the voice answered. "The man who lived here before. He kept me in the dark, until I stopped breathing." Her phone buzzed suddenly, making her jump. It was Ethan. She snatched it up, relief flooding through her. But when she answered, there was no voice, only faint static. Then, beneath the static, she heard it again. The same whisper, echoing through the line. "Don't trust him." The phone went dead. Panic clawed at her chest. She ran to the front door and yanked it open, but the night outside was darker than she remembered, thick, moonless, suffocating. The streetlight at the end of the driveway flickered once and went out. Desperate for light, Clara grabbed a flashlight from the drawer and shined it along the floorboards. That's when she noticed something strange, tiny gaps between the planks, as if they'd been pried open and nailed back down. The whisper came again, trembling, almost crying now. "Under the floor, Clara. Please." Her heart pounded as she dropped to her knees and started pulling at the boards. One came loose with a sharp crack. The air that rose from below was foul, like rotting wood and old metal. She held her breath and aimed the flashlight into the gap. Something glinted. She pried another board loose, and screamed. A human hand, pale and stiff, was pressed against the dirt beneath the floor. A gold ring still clung to its finger, engraved with initials, E.M. The whisper filled the room, louder than ever. "He said I'd never leave." And from somewhere in the house, down the hall, maybe near the bedroom, Clara heard another sound. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Approaching. Clara froze where she knelt, her flashlight shaking in her hand. The footsteps grew louder, each one deliberate, echoing through the wooden floorboards above the hollow space where that pale hand lay. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice cracking. No answer. She stood, heart thundering, and backed away from the open floor. The beam of her flashlight trembled across the hall, illuminating peeling wallpaper and empty air. The footsteps stopped. Then came a faint creak, from the top of the stairs. Clara's throat tightened. Ethan wasn't supposed to be home until morning. The house fell silent again. Then a low voice, deeper than the whispers, drifted down the staircase. "Clara, what did you find?" She couldn't move. It sounded like Ethan, but slower, strained, as if something was mimicking him. Her flashlight flickered. When it came back on, she saw a dark shape at the top of the stairs. Not moving, just standing. Watching. "Ethan," she tried again. "If that's you, say something." The shape tilted its head slightly. Then it stepped forward, and the floor creaked exactly the way it had before. The voice came again, softer this time, almost taunting. "You shouldn't have opened it." Clara stumbled backward, the flashlight slipping from her hand and clattering to the floor. In the strobing beam, she saw flashes of movement, bare feet, dragging slightly, coming down the stairs. Panic surged through her. She turned and ran into the kitchen, slamming the door shut behind her. She pressed her ear to the door. Silence. Then, tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks. Her breath came in gasps. She looked around for something, anything, to defend herself. Her eyes fell on a rusted hammer on the counter, the one Ethan had used to hang the shelves. She grabbed it, knuckles white. The knocks stopped. The house seemed to hold its breath. Then, from the wall beside her, the whisper returned, shaking, terrified now. "He's not who you think he is." Clara's grip tightened on the hammer. "What are you talking about?" she hissed, half expecting the voice to vanish again. But it didn't. It answered. "He killed me, Clara. He'll kill you too." Her heart pounded. She stumbled backward toward the living room, staring at the floor where the boards still lay open. The pale hand beneath seemed to glow in the flashlight's beam, as though reacting to the voice. Then the front door creaked open. "Clara?" Ethan's voice. Clear. Calm. Just like always. "What's going on?" "I forgot my laptop." He stepped inside, keys jingling in his hand, expression unreadable. Clara's mind spun. He was here. The voice had said he'd kill her, but that couldn't be true. This was Ethan. Her husband. Still, she couldn't ignore the chill crawling down her spine. Ethan's eyes shifted to the torn floorboards, then to her trembling hands. "What's that?" he asked quietly. Clara swallowed hard. Ethan, whose initials are EM. He froze. Just for a moment, but she saw it. That flicker. That tiny, telling pause before the smile returned to his face. "Why do you ask?" he said softly. And then, behind him, the whisper came again. "Run." Clara's pulse thundered in her ears. The voice's single word, "run," echoed inside her skull like a gunshot. Ethan stood in the doorway, his expression calm, but there was something wrong in his eyes. Something hollow. Something that didn't look like the man she married. "Ethan," she stammered, forcing a smile. I just found something under the floorboards. I think someone was buried here." He stepped closer. "You shouldn't have opened it." Her breath caught. That was the exact phrase the voice had whispered earlier. Her heart clenched as Ethan's smile widened, not warm this time, but stretched and brittle. "Who's EM, Ethan?" she asked again, voice trembling. He stared at her for a long moment, then exhaled. "You were supposed to leave it alone," he said quietly. "It's better when they stay quiet." Clara took a step back. "They?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached down, picked up the loose floorboard, and knelt by the open gap. "She talked too much," he murmured. "Just like you." Clara's scream ripped through the house. She swung the hammer, catching him across the shoulder. Ethan stumbled, snarling, eyes gone cold and wild. "You shouldn't have come here," he shouted. She ran. Through the hall, down the narrow corridor, into the old study at the back of the house. She slammed the door and pushed a chair against it, hands shaking uncontrollably. From outside, she could hear his footsteps again, slow, deliberate, echoing closer. Then the whisper returned, this time everywhere, seeping from the walls, the floor, the ceiling. "Clara, in the fireplace." She turned the flashlight toward the old brick hearth. The stones were loose. Acting on instinct, she pried one free, and found a small box hidden behind it. Inside was a faded photograph of a woman, smiling shyly, wearing the same ring Clara had seen on the corpse's hand. On the back of the photo were the words, "Evelyn Moore, 1996. EM." Her mind spun. The woman's eyes in the photo seemed to look right at her, pleading silently. "Clara." Ethan's voice thundered from the hallway. "You can't hide from me." The whisper grew louder, more urgent now. "End it where it started." Clara turned toward the fireplace again, and saw the gas valve beneath the bricks. Her fingers trembled as she twisted it open, filling the air with the faint hiss of gas. Ethan was already pounding on the door. "Please," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry." The voice, Evelyn's, answered one last time, calm and resolute. "It's not your fault." The door burst open. Ethan stepped inside, eyes blazing. Clara struck the lighter. The explosion was deafening. When firefighters arrived, the house was in flames. They found only one body, Ethan's, burned beyond recognition. No trace of Clara was ever recovered. But neighbors still swear that on quiet nights, when the wind rattles through the charred remains of the old house on Willow Street, you can hear a woman's voice whispering softly from the walls. "I'm finally free."